From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. So, I had a case, maybe I still do, we'll find out. I had a case of the Yips last week. See, I'm having it again. Do you know what the Yips are? That's when you, I'm looking to see last week's schedule here. No, that's not it. That's twice I've hit the wrong file. What do I need? This is amazing. Yeah. Okay. You're hearing the yips. That's when it's a term in athletics where, you've got a psychological block. You can't do what you do. The simplest things. You freeze. You know, we heard the whole story of Simone Biles over the most recent Olympics, right? I'm doing two things at once here. That's probably not helping. I'm looking for that file while I'm talking to you. There it is. My show log. I have a show log. I just wanted to. Okay, here it is. So on Monday and Tuesday last week, I did my regular shows. And then on Wednesday, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So I posted a repeat. And then on Thursday, it happened again. I was lucky I had a few repeats that were able to... See, when I run a repeat, it means... here's another term of the business. It's an evergreen. In broadcasting, that means it's something that can be repeated. It doesn't have timely stories. It can be repeated weeks or months later. So I had a few evergreens built up, which saved my butt. So on Thursday, I tried again, and again, I couldn't get the words out. I couldn't find the right word. I didn't know. I just hemmed and I hawed and I couldn't do it. I had the yips. I interrupted myself. Yeah, Simone Biles, you remember that story. She had to drop out of the Olympics or drop out of some events that she found she just couldn't do. By the way, I should take this second to remind you, because if I'm your only source, if I'm the only show you listen to, I'm sure that's likely. I don't think I explained it very well at the time. It's not a psychological thing. It's for her, in her case, it's a physical thing. When you're spinning like she does and you're up in the air and doing all these twists, it's a chemical in your brain. I'm not going to try to explain it because I don't really understand it, but it's a physical dynamic that's happening in your brain that you're unable to judge whether you're upside down or right side up or where you are. You know, your brain does that sort of stuff for you. So it keeps you upright, and it allows you to stand up and sit down and walk and do all the things you need to do. But for an athlete, for a gymnast or for a diver, other things like that, you got to understand your relationship to space, exactly how you're situated at any given moment. And her brain wasn't doing that. So it really was, everybody kept calling it a mental condition. It's not a mental condition, it's a physical condition. Well, there again, I'm getting into areas that I don't understand very well, so I better shut up. Many so-called mental issues are physical issues. And I think we should understand that by now, right? Anyway, so that was that. Well, yeah, I don't know what's going on with me, and I don't know exactly what the yips are, but it's that thing, especially in sports, that's where we've heard about it, where you can't do the simplest routine duties of your job. You can't field a ground ball. You can't kick that field goal. You're just in your head, and the more and more you try, the more pressure you feel, and the worse the problem becomes. Well, I had the yips last week. So So on Wednesday, I tried to do a show, and I couldn't do it. On Thursday, I tried again, and still, I opened up the mic, and I would just hem and haw and not know what to tell you. What do I want to talk about in the news? Oh, it was bad. And as you can tell, I think I'm still suffering from the yips. On Friday, I ran another repeat, and now it's Monday, and I'm trying one more time here. I'm trying to talk to you. Have you ever had the yips? Have you ever had a moment when you just can't? Yeah, that's what I'm dealing with right now. And, maybe this will help. A little true confession time. All right? Here's a confession. This is not a big secret. I've mentioned it before on the air, but I don't talk about it. And that is that I do edit this show. It's not a live show. I edit this podcast. So after I record it, and I usually record about, it's a 29-minute podcast. So I usually record, I don't know, at least 35, maybe 40, sometimes more, sometimes 45 minutes. And then I go back and I edit out the hemming and the hawing. And I edit out if I use a wrong word. Or sometimes, since I know I'm going to edit, if I can't find just the right word, I'll take my time. I'll just pause and look for the appropriate word. And then I just go back and I edit out the part. So it's kind of a hybrid of extemporaneous speaking and writing. I guess you could sort of put it that way. I have the advantage. I left that in. See, I left that in. I was looking for the word advantage. It didn't come to me immediately. So normally what I would do is I'd go back then and edit out the pause. So I pause to find just the right word, and then I edit that out. Or I'll say or ah, which is natural, but if there are too many of them, I'll edit some of those out. And if I say something in the podcast that I later regret, between the recording and the editing, well, I can go back and just take it out. Or if I make a mistake, I say something that's factually inaccurate, and I catch it, and I take that out. If I talk about something that I later realize, you know what, that wasn't very interesting, or it wasn't very important, just edit it out. So what you're hearing on the podcast is a hybrid of extemporaneous speech and a kind of writing. That's my true confession. Now, confession implies that there's something wrong with that. There's not. It's just one way of doing things. I could write everything down. I could write my episode, which I never do. Well, let me see. Have I ever? No. Maybe on one or two occasions I've written something that I've read. And when I do that, I always tell you. So I could write the episode and then just read it to you like a presenter. I don't do that. I just open up the mic and I talk to you. So it's, I don't know how you'd break this down on a pie chart. It's 100% extemporaneous, but the presentation is enhanced, a kind of writing in a way, by a little editing. So I always think of it as kind of a hybrid. And the reason I use the word writing, it's not really, but that's the case where I allow myself to take the time. And sometimes it's a good 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds. I'm looking for the right word. And again, I know that I'm going to go back and edit. So if there's a little catch in my voice, if I do the Peter Brady, there it is right there. That was funny. I was going to say do the Peter Brady thing where your voice cracks. Just go back and edit that out. Well, the other thing I like to avoid here on the program is making it all about me. I've got this conflict going in my brain. When I do make it personal, when I do talk about myself, that's when I get the most response from people. I get feedback, I get emails and messages on YouTube occasionally, and whatever the platform is, and people will comment on the show. I get a little bit, but I really get a lot when I talk about myself. So I've got this conflict. Well, I'm so sick of myself. Anybody who makes their living or spends most of their time talking, as I do, that's my thing. That's what I do. I get up and I talk. I talk to you. So if you've ever been in that position, I think you may share this feeling. Oh my God, you get sick of yourself. You have to have quite an ego in the first place. Maybe even be a little narcissistic, which I would confess to. I've got a very healthy ego, and I like the sound of my own voice. You have to be that kind of a person in order to do this kind of a job. Now, I don't. We've got some true confessions going on here. I don't confess or admit or even believe that I have a problem, like my ego or my narcissism are out of control. No, I'm just, I lean that way a little bit just because, again, anybody who does this requires that personal quality. But also, at some point, you get so sick of yourself. I want to be completely out of anyone's attention. I want to just be on my own, let everyone else pay attention to other people. And maybe that's part of why I had the yips as well. I don't know. I'm sitting down here with my own little therapist. Does it ever happen to you? Do you get the yips? All right. Well, this is my effort here to defeat the yips. Hey, speaking of Peter Brady of the Brady Bunch, I don't know if you got that reference. Not everybody got that. Peter Brady is the middle son on the Brady Bunch, and there's a whole big episode where his voice changes. And it's one of those shows where the Brady kids are singing. They were trying to compete with the Partridge Family, and they all got up on stage and they sang. And they got a big singing contest coming up. And Peter can't sing because his voice is changing. So instead of kicking him out of the group, what's the older kid's name? I forgot for a second. Greg. Yeah, Greg Brady writes a whole new song just like the day before the big contest. And he writes Time to Change. And it features Peter and his cracking voice. When it's time to change, it's time to rearrange. Remember that one? Oh my God, it was hilarious. The parody movies, they made 2 or 3 of them. Did a lot of singing, at least one big musical number in every sequel. God, they were funny. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. On Sunday, I was flipping around looking for a football game, and I came across the Brady Bunch. And it was the one with Vincent Price. They're in Hawaii for some reason. They're, family vacation, and the older one, Greg, finds, I forget how it goes. Somebody finds this native artifact, and they think it's bad luck. Greg, the older one, wipes out on his surfboard and everybody has bad luck and there's a snake in the bed or something. I don't know. So they go, as the plot goes, the boys go to return it to some native burial ground, and they come across Vincent Price, who's some sort of an archaeologist or something, and he's trying to steal artifacts from a cave. I don't know. But I just had to laugh. I was like, look at Vincent Price. Pretty big star to guest on the Brady Bunch. And the other thing, too, because I tuned in just as they're about to have their little luau. And I thought, hey, this looks exactly like the Native American ceremony they attended when they visited the Grand Canyon. Now, don't lie to me. You know this stuff. You've seen it. You've all seen the Brady Bunch. Don't lie to me. This is True Confessions Day. I've seen every Brady Bunch. But anyway, they got the whole family around a fire watching native dancers. And I thought, I suppose at the time this was very forward thinking, that they would present indigenous Hawaiians doing their thing for the entertainment of these white tourists. And I suppose at the time to put that on television seemed really cool. Like, we're not making fun of these native folks. We are celebrating their culture. But at the same time, you look at the situation, it's like, okay, well, the people of honor are the white tourists being entertained like pharaohs. And then they hand out because this is the part I saw on Sunday, they pass around this big shell and they blow into it, which I'm sure, I don't know. Again, all these ceremonial things of indigenous people, you don't just hand out stuff to the whiteys. You don't just let anybody smoke the peace pipe, which they did, by the way. If memory serves, they did on the what's the one I just mentioned? The Grand Canyon. Now it's Native Americans. It's some tribe, which I don't think they ever mentioned the tribe, and they take part in the ceremony. Well, I said I don't know much about this, but I do know that much. Not everybody is allowed inside the circle, right? These are sacred ceremonies. These dances and the musical instruments and the peace pipe, all of the paraphernalia, these are sacred. So at the time, and maybe still today, depending on who's watching, you might think, oh, isn't that cool how the Brady Bunch is partaking and somehow uplifting or putting their stamp of approval on these ancient ceremonies. And I suppose you could have that attitude, that positive attitude, oh, isn't this nice? And isn't this forward thinking and inclusive? Or you could say, look at these horrible white supremacists sitting down, being the guests of honor, and having the natives entertain you like dancing girls in front of the pharaoh. Anyway, I don't know how to take it. But Vincent Price, the Brady Bunch. I love Vincent Price. Well, here I am with the Yips again. I don't know what to tell you next. Well, as long as we're a little bit of true confessions, I've confessed of my Yips. I've confessed, although it's not really a confession about how I produce and edit the show. I confessed that I've seen every Brady Bunch episode, and I think I have. I'm pretty sure I have. What other confessions can I make to you? Yeah, I've been going through a rough time. I'm sure. Well, sure. I'm guessing maybe that's why I had the Yips. Just because all the regular things you're supposed to do, get enough sleep, eat properly, get some exercise, not watch the Brady Bunch, but instead maybe read a book. All of the things that you should do to have a healthy, productive life. Boy, I've had a hard time the last few weeks. I think it's tough to figure out the causality. Are things not going right because I'm not sleeping, or am I not sleeping because things aren't going right? It's a chicken egg sort of a thing. But I got to confess, I've been going through a tough time. And if you're going through a tough time, just know that you're not alone. If you open up a sleeve of Oreos instead of having a meal, I've done that. All right, well, time to eat. Nothing here that looks good to me. I'll just have a cookie. It's not even like afterwards. It's not a dessert situation. No. It's much worse than that. It's not, oh, should I have a little dessert after my meal? It's like, no, I'm too lazy to cook a meal, or there's nothing here that looks appetizing to me. So you just skip the meal entirely and have that sleeve of Oreos. I've done that. Have you done that? It's True Confession Day. You can tell me. It's just you and me. It's just you and me right here. So all of the basics, getting some exercise, getting some sleep, eating properly, using your time wisely. But I've been struggling. And it's the same time I've been struggling with the yips. So they've got to be related, right? Again, chicken, egg, I'm not sure which causes which, but it's happening. I'm in a pretty bad cycle right now. I'll go through moments. I'll go take a long walk. Feels a little better. Yesterday, I spent quite a lot of time on Saturday. Saturday, I spent quite a lot of time on the bike. I got an exercycle here in the apartment, and tried to watch the Wisconsin Badgers game, but they looked so bad. They weren't inspiring me at all. So I have moments when I'm trying. Oh, okay. Here's the biggest true confession of them all. I feel like I've told you this 100 times. I don't subscribe to streaming services. I don't like them. It's a waste of money. There's really nothing that's going to make it worthwhile. Also, mostly, well, there are two reasons: personal reasons, and then my political reasons or economic reasons. I think it's unfair. I don't think it's right to nickel and dime people. It's expensive to subscribe to all of these services. Poor folks, people who struggle, should have every bit as much a right to entertainment as anybody else does. Well, there is one little amendment to that thought, and that is, if you are a person who struggles with finances and you can't afford all of these streaming services, I'm here to tell you from my experience, you're not missing anything. It's all garbage. It's all just television. It's all just the vast wasteland. Now, I bring this up today because I did subscribe to Apple Plus television. And here's how I rationalized it. Well, it was free, first of all. I bought a phone recently, and they gave me a year of free Apple Plus TV. Now, I've had this phone for a couple of months. I never activated it because I thought, I don't need that. I don't want that. It's a bunch of, it's just a waste of time. But then when Jon Stewart's new program debuted, The Problem with Jon Stewart, I really wanted to see it. My curiosity got the best of me. I was pretty sure I wasn't going to like it. I was pretty sure I was going to hate it because Jon Stewart has become kind of crazy since he left The Daily Show. He's not funny at all. Have you seen his guest spots on Colbert? He's just a wild man. And he's not the slightest bit funny anymore. Now, he did all of his work for 9/11 responders, and he's done other work. He's testified before Congress. He's a good guy, and I admire him for all of that work. I really do. But I was just convinced his show was going to be terrible, which, by the way, it wasn't. I won't go into all of that. I was very pleasantly surprised. It's an excellent program. But the problem is you have to get Apple Plus, and it ain't worth it. Okay, so here's my true confession. I did activate my free subscription to Apple Plus. I watched The Problem with Jon Stewart, was pleasantly surprised. But then, of course, okay, I've got the service now, so I flip around a little bit, scroll around, see what's there. Nothing too interesting, except Ted Lasso, which everybody has just lost their frickin' minds over. So, okay, I'll watch Ted Lasso. I'm just out of sheer curiosity. And, it's pretty good. I enjoyed it. And then I watched the next episode. Yeah, this is really good. And I wound up binging it over the weekend. Started on, I don't know, Thursday or Friday. And by the time the weekend was over, I'd seen all the first 2 seasons. I've never binged anything in my life. I know it's a thing. It's been a thing for years. I've never done it myself. So today's True Confession Day. I binged Ted Lasso because the first, I forget, I lose count. Each season is like 12 episodes, something like that. The first, I don't know, half a dozen episodes were really good. I'm thinking, oh, I understand why people are going so crazy over this. And they know how to make you binge because they do it like the old-fashioned way, like the old soap opera way, right? something really exciting happens at the end of the episode, and you have to find out how that turns out. So you go to the next episode. I mean, they're just, they're pushing your buttons. All right. So my true confession is that I binged Ted Lasso. And yeah, it was pretty good. But by the time it was over, and this is really what I want to tell you, this is really the key if you haven't seen it. By the time it was over, I was left completely unsatisfied. It's exactly like opening up a bag of potato chips, which you also shouldn't do. There's so many things we shouldn't do. And that first chip and the second and the third, maybe even the fourth and the fifth are so satisfying. It's like, yeah, man, that hits the spot. That's just what I was after. That's just what I was craving. That gives me my salty little nirvana. Oh, it's good. But then because of the chemicals in the food, which they put in there just to make you eat the next chip, just like a television writer, director knows how to get you to the next episode. It's all manipulation. And so by the time I was finished with Ted Lasso, it was like eating the last chip out of the bag. I felt gross. I felt disgusted. I felt like I just wasted all of this time and got nothing out of it. I just felt bad about myself. Just like eating the last chip out of a bag. It's like, what the hell have I just done? It's all just television. Ted Lasso is the greatest thing, like, forever. People are calling it the greatest television series of all time. They might be right. They might be right, but it's still just television. So my experience once again told me what I've learned, have to learn over and over again. If I get sucked back in, like recently I got sucked back into watching some cable news programs because big things were going on that I was interested in. And I thought, well, okay, let's find out what's happening. And you get sucked in for a little while until you realize again, how many times do I have to learn this lesson? This is not helping anybody. This is just filling up somebody's bottom line. This is just us being manipulated. There's so many better things to do. And this binge situation that I went through was part of my kind of lowest ebb of having the yips, of not eating or exercising or sleeping properly. It was just perfectly suited for the mood I was in. And it only then, put me on that damn couch for as long as it takes to binge a couple of dozen episodes. If you suffer the yips, if you suffer any addiction to television or to food or to that damn couch, I wish you well. And I want you to know you're not alone. And I do not judge you. Because to judge you, I'd have to judge myself. And I'm not ready to do that. No, let's not judge each other. Let's wish each other the best and cheer each other on. And I love you. I'm Charles Purcell.